Obviously, something really whack is happening with the job market right now, and as somebody who follows the job market for a living, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Okay. So we always talk about how blue-collar manufacturing jobs were offshore to other countries.
Yeah, for sure, because it's cheaper to hire them than to keep it here or transition a factory here into automation. But I'm telling you, it's cheaper to automate a factory here than it is to hire people. So like the American middle class is cooked unless we do something about that, like some kind of like a negative income tax.
There's a lot of truth to that. Since the 1970s, companies have decided to move manufacturing overseas to countries like China, the Philippines, India, Mexico, Vietnam, because it's cheaper. They can reduce prices, increase profits, stay competitive. Capitalism.
Yes.
Now, something that a lot of people don't know is that while manufacturing jobs in the US have decreased, manufacturing output has largely stayed the same.
Yeah, because they're killing jobs for automation. So a lot of people especially jumped out of the country before automation was like reliable enough. But now, especially in the past decade, like you could automate the fuck out of a factory and cut like 80% of your workforce and have like robotics take over and do shit. You don't have to pay them healthcare. You don't have to pay them a livable wage. It creates like a couple of new jobs, but like nowhere near the amount of jobs as like actually doing the factory work. Like, yeah, there are people that need to maintain the factories and the facilities, but overall there's substantially fewer jobs that are paying substantially like less overall. They probably save like a fucking 80% of the money onto robotics, you know what I mean?
And that is due to automation. Factory technology has improved so much that these companies can produce the same amount of goods with less people.
Yeah, that's why one of the things that we really need to do is we need to make it so that you can't indiscriminately fire people when you're in a profitable era. Because I don't think that, like, we have to, first of all, we have to figure, I personally, we should tax this technology if you automate jobs away. I think that like any particular good or service that's created through automation should be taxed additionally, proportionally to how much how much it is automated. But I think that it's not a terrible idea to be like, okay, like you can't just mass fire. You can invest in these technologies and you can put a hiring stall for a while, but you can't just fire a worker who's making you like profit just because you want to, rapidly shift to a new like industry or a new way to like operate business. We need to preserve these middle class jobs, and so it should be slower. You could stop new hirings. You shouldn't be able to do firings. We need to like slow down the replacement of middle class workers with machines. So like while we figure out how to legislate this problem away, which again I think is through like some kind of a universal basic income.
I believe that right now the same thing is happening, but not to blue collar workers, but to white collar workers.
Yeah,
so during the pandemic, a lot of companies had to learn how to work remotely. And since then, they have learned that they no longer need to hire people who are local. You can hire people from anywhere. Why hire an
I think that like everybody unfortunately who like telemarket or whatever, it's like all like an Indian person, and good for them, get your bag. But like it's very frustrating, especially when you call somebody for healthcare and you try to like have a conversation about like American healthcare, and the person is outsourced labor. It's very frustrating to deal with those individuals. It's like you don't understand what my problem is, and you're like, I've had this problem with like they just can't help me. They just don't understand what I'm asking. It gets very frustrating, and I don't blame them for that, but it's fucking frustrating.
American digital marketer, you have to pay $100,000.
And it's like, it's for healthcare. Like I call my healthcare company, my insurance company, and they have it's like somebody from another country talking. I'm like, you don't understand my problem, and it gets very, very frustrating dealing with that issue. And they're so fucking obnoxious. It's just so fucking obnoxious, dude. But they save so much money and they charge more and more every year. It's insane.
Year, healthcare, PTO, benefits, social security, payroll taxes, etc. When you could just hire a comparable contractor in India for $25,000 a year flat. Pair that with AI being able to take over a lot of entry-level tasks and responsibilities.
Yeah, that's going to kill a lot. Even internship jobs are going to get taken away. It's going to be harder to even become a lawyer because there's a lot of intern like work that you can just use a fucking AI for.
I think I've seen this film before, and the reason I think that people aren't talking about this is because it's invisible. When a factory would shut down, the whole plant would go dark, the town would suffer. It was so tangible.
That's still the case. That is still the case.
But when a corporation lays off a quarter of their marketing department and brings in contractors from a different country, nobody really notices it.
Yeah, it might not be as profound, but it doesn't matter. I don't think that's the argument. I think the argument is that this is not like even if that little area takes a hit economically, because like when you mass lay off workers, those are people who take money and they spend it in their community. Right. And they probably get severance packages too, which is probably why we're not seeing it hit so much. But like we live in a very large United States. So like if there's a little bit of an issue going on in this state, like you're not going to be aware of it from 20 states across the country, Jobs
available to Americans just becomes fewer and fewer. So I feel like maybe we should just like start talking about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. You got this, and follow for more.
Yeah, she's right about that.